Welcome to the Randy Report. I'm Randy Slovacek, your host. I'm also the writer and editor of therandyreport.com, where you can find me every single day on the internet reporting on the daily news cycle in terms of politics, pop culture, and entertainment news of interest to the LGBTQ community and its allies. In this week's headlines, the Air Force has reversed on an option for transgender military service members to take early retirement, opting instead to force them out with no retirement benefits. The U.S. Supreme Court has formally been asked to reconsider its 2015 ruling that made same-sex marriage legal nationwide. The terrific new limited web series, The Nature of Us, follows two young people fresh out of high school looking for a sign to lead them to what's next. All that and more in this episode of The Randy Report. The Air Force is now denying early retirement to all transgender service members with between 15 and 18 years of military service, opting instead to force them out with no retirement benefits, according to a memo dated August 4th, first reported by Reuters. The Air Force's decision is a clear reversal from a policy detailed in a May 23rd memo stating that airmen with 15 to 18 years of service could request early retirement after the Supreme Court permitted the Pentagon to move forward with its ban on all transgender troops serving in the military. According to the August 4th memo, these longer-serving transgender service members will now have the same choice as more junior ones: quit or be forced out, with corresponding lump sum payments as they walk out the door. Usually, when early retirement is offered in the military, it's available to all members who have served over 15 years. Logan Ireland is a Master Sergeant in the U.S. Air Force who has served his country for 15 years, including multiple overseas tours in locations such as Afghanistan, the United Arab Emirates, and South Korea. He is highly decorated with multiple medals recognize his critical contributions to the Air Force. Ireland didn't want to retire from the U.S. Air Force. He told The Advocate he planned to keep wearing the uniform for years to come. But when the Trump administration announced earlier this year that people like him, transgender service members, could no longer serve simply because of who they are, Ireland was forced to choose what he considered the lesser of two evils. Putting his family's needs first, he applied for early retirement shortly after the policy change. It was approved. Then, without warning, the Air Force took it back. He told The Advocate, quote, "I feel betrayed and devastated by the news. This is a core part of who I am, and now it's just being ripped from me. Being allowed to still retire was a way for me to find closure. But now, I feel like I was just betrayed by the same service that once celebrated who I am," end quote. Ireland says he was informed his retirement was being denied last week when his chain of command told him the news, quote, "with tears in their eyes." The reversal affects more than Ireland's career plans. It removes his ability to have TRICARE for Life, the military's health insurance program. It also removes his and his wife's ability to possibly live on a military base where, as a transgender couple, they feel safe, plus many other benefits that come from retirement. Ireland's wife, a transgender veteran, was separated from the Army in 2015 under earlier restrictions. She is a trans woman of color. He's a white trans man. Both have experienced the military's inconsistent treatment of transgender personnel firsthand. The Pentagon says transgender individuals are medically unfit, something civil rights activists say is untrue and constitutes illegal discrimination. Jay Brown, chief of staff at the Human Rights Campaign, said in a public statement, "This has nothing to do with military readiness. It's cruelty for cruelty's sake." 10 years after the Supreme Court issued its 2015 landmark Obergefell ruling, which made same-sex marriage legal across the U.S., the High Court has been formally asked to overturn that decision. Kim Davis, the former Kentucky County Clerk who was jailed for 6 days in 2015 after refusing to issue marriage licenses to a gay couple on religious grounds, is appealing a $100,000 jury verdict against her for emotional damages, plus another $260,000 for attorney's fees. In her petition, Davis's legal team argues First Amendment protection for free exercise of religion should immunize her from personal liability for the denial of marriage licenses. She also claims the High Court's decision in Obergefell v. Hodges was, quote, egregiously wrong. Nope. It's worth noting that several lower courts have dismissed Davis's claims, and most legal experts consider her bid a long shot. Her appeal to the Supreme Court comes as anti-LGBTQ conservatives have renewed their campaign to reverse Obergefell and allow each state to set its own policy. According to Lambda Legal, in 2025, at least 9 states have either introduced anti-LGBTQ marriage legislation or passed resolutions urging the Supreme Court to overturn Obergefell. However, recent surveys by Gallup Polling show 68% of adults in the U.S. support marriage equality. What to watch? The new independent limited web series, The Nature of Us, introduces us to 2 young people fresh out of high school, both looking for a sign to lead them to what comes next. Benjamin Pierce plays Ellie, a sensitive artist fresh out of mental health treatment for depression who's staying with his best friend Rowan, played by Allison Newton. They bump into their former classmate Yona, played by Sean Manucha, who came out shortly after graduating and is now working at his dad's auto shop while dreaming of leaving town. Sensing an attraction between Ellie and Yona, Rowan encourages them to hang out, and gradually they let down their walls, opening up to each other in ways they never expected. As they bike, swim, and while away their days together, Ellie and Yona find a deeper interest in their passions, which eventually brings them to a crossroads neither saw coming. Known for evocative romantic short films, writer-director Josh Cox taps into the initial feelings surrounding the rush of new love when the rest of the world seems to fall away. Initially conceived as a film, Cox found new inspiration once he decided to divide Ellie and Yona's story into 6 short episodes, each about 10 minutes in length. In a recent interview with the Cape Cod Times, he shared, quote, "It sort of heightened the way each episode ends, and it really lets each episode breathe on its own and take on new meaning." As a limited series, The Nature of Us lets the filmmaker explore those emotions more deeply. With minimal dialogue, Cox allows even the smallest, most tender moments, parting glances, the brushes of hands, to play out with the gravity they deserve. Filmed on location in and around Cape Cod, the series is also a love letter to coastal New England, where Cox grew up, allowing the sights and sounds of nature surrounding Ellie and Yona to almost become a companion in their journey. I've found the series to be enchanting and quietly addictive, with both Pierce and Manucha delivering arresting, vulnerable performances steeped in intimate yearning. The Nature of Us premiered on August 1st on YouTube. 3 episodes are currently available, and new episodes will be released throughout the month. I highly recommend it. I'll have a link in the show notes. And that brings me to the end of this episode of the Randy Report. If you enjoy catching up on LGBTQ news in a quick podcast, I'd appreciate it if you'd share it with your friends. I like to think of the Randy Report as the 60 minutes of gay news, only shorter. And make sure you hit that subscribe button as well to make sure you never miss an episode. And remember, you can find me every single day on the internet at therandyreport.com, where I cover the daily news cycle in terms of politics, pop culture, and entertainment news of interest to the LGBTQ community and its allies. Thanks for listening, folks. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.